It was the bubble tent. I remember that from the history of some snow on the bottom along the top. And he brought me back. So in the meantime, I wanted to know, working on the train, how it works. I was in the path to business school in college. I wanted to know how that
Dick Van Dyke picture there.
For those who have quick eyes, you may have seen this as we went by. Anybody recognize who this is?
Dick Van Dyke.
Right, Dick Van Dyke. So this is Dick Van Dyke on this engine out of this window in preparation for the 1978 season, making a commercial for King's Dominion, whose engines were totally different colors. But it was all new at that time, and so no one ever necessarily knew that. If you do the Taft Broadcasting commercials between Carowinds, King's Dominion, Kings Island, if they had similar rides, you tended to see, you looked at the background of the commercial and said, well, that one was at King's Dominion. So anyway, what I usually say at this point, and I don't know that the Wi-Fi is turned on the picnic grove for you to pick this up. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But if you went to YouTube and put in King's Dominion, commercial number 2, hashtag 2, 1978, you'll see Dick Van Dyke coming in on the 30-second commercial on this engine right here. 78, I welcome you to that. The person that was sitting in the engineer's seat in that commercial is Lou Brown, as you see the name on the side. This was originally Simon Kenton, as in local historian naming, and the blue engine was Tecumseh that you are behind. It is now Kenny Van Meter. And you're probably thinking, who are those people? Lou Brown, for those in the back, you can see a poster hanging on, leaning against the door back there, so at least you got something you can see back there. That's a little closer. Lou Brown was a career steam engineer in charge of the heat, baking energy for a bakery, a big bakery, and had a fondness for steam, owned a steam fire truck that he competed against big diesel fire trucks, which normally, if he was given enough time to warm up the boiler, he could beat modern pumpers with a steam-driven system. More startup torque, and you got to get in the internal engine up high RPM, but a steam locomotive, steam engine has the highest torque at the low end, so it's a different curve. Instead of going up, it starts up real high. That's why we can start 80-ton train with those two pistons. Well, two will be working one side of each, so sort of two. You see two pistons up there on our engine here. You can see there's one on this side, one on that side. But every movement is being pushed by steam because it's a dual action. Steam pushes one direction, then pushes back the other direction. So although it looks like 2 cylinders, it acts like 8 compared to a car where you've got to do the compression and the exhaust and all the other on a 4-cycle engine. So we get a lot of power at low speed. This engine is rated at about 60 miles per hour, but certainly not on this track. Anyway, so the story Lou Brown was the first full-timer foreman, superintendent, whatever you like to call him. Kenny Van Meter was his number two, who was a local farmer up in Lebanon who ran steam equipment. So, fast forward on the island, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see that on the coasterstock trip with the Mr. Dennis Spiegel. So you may recall Coney Island had a 24-inch gauge train, much like the gauge of the Cincinnati Zoo or lots of other zoos, with a CP Huntington type engine, the one with the big single drive wheel in the middle. And in the 70s, when there was the big push to make Kings Island, the Walks and the others, the old school that were running Coney Island all those years, they sort of split out a little bit, and the younger managers moved up and started taking control and building Kings Island in the 70, 71, 72 time frame. And they sent them up here. They had their hands full building that park. They got Lou Brown and Kenny Van Meter and a few other folks who have been career steam to take over getting the train. They said, I'll tell you what, let's go to get a Crown Metal Products. If you look in the front of the train, it will say Crown Metal Products. Yep, it's right here. Sorry, like I said, this is live. So it was Crown Metal Products, and here's where they went to. And the catalog at that time, this is a picture of the, I found a picture of this, current pictures actually of the engines that were at Coney Island, smaller ones. So they said, well, we'll get something a little bigger than that. And they showed them a catalog from Crown, and this catalog, they called them the Little Toot, was 15 through 24. What they called small 36s were out, but they looked smaller, obviously. This is called the big 36. So they said, we'll take care of it, we'll order them. But they knew the big 36s were available. So while management was thinking, okay, something a little bigger than Coney Island, as I understand it, when the flatbeds showed up from Wayno, Pennsylvania, with these things on them, you can imagine the surprise that happened, and many people were like, whoa, this is a big train. This isn't. So we advertise this as 2/3 scale, but it's 2/3 scale of the General from the Civil War, which started as a 50-inch, and then they trimmed it back to a 4 foot 8.5 to be standard with the gauges the Southern Railroads had. So they caught them by surprise, and we're glad they did, because we got the big trains, and if you compare to other Crown engines, we have more brass than a lot of them. It was a little fancier than many of them. Some quick observations. You see the green one, every time Crown would deliver 2 trains to a park, the engines would be different. Obviously the numbers. 19, I'm not sure what Lou's preference was for 19, but number 12 is actually the 12th Crown large, or the 12th Crown 36-inch gauge that was built. So that was something actually I just learned last night. I'm still learning. So as I was saying before, I had 7 years as a conductor. So I'm up to 26 now in the park on the train, and that is not the longest. For those who can see across the way, there's a little sign that says Sam Jasper, MD. I believe he was at 43 years on the train. So there's a lot of, everyone on the train this year is a returner. We don't have a new person on the engineer staff. Back to that fortune and copper that was back there going around the propane tanks. So I had this vision when I was 16, 18, 20, and 50, 60 degrees outside. I walk up here to the engine, and there'd be about an inch of ice around the propane tanks. For anybody who's ever used like pull the whistle, and the mark's ready in the engine house. to be there long. We're just going to go back, see it. We may do a Flight of Fear imitation. So, as you would imagine going forwards, keep your hands and arms and legs and appendix to design standards. So we will not be having your envelope. So keep everything, I need to lean out there because it'll be within inches.
Just want to clarify, any legs hanging out, they're going to have to be inside, heads have to be inside, arms have to be inside. Like he said, it's going to be a very tight clearance, so we don't want you guys to get hit by any of the walls. So please make sure you stay tightly towards the center of the train. Thank you.
Right. I would add, if you have any bushes along there, don't reach out because you'd be bushwhacked. Okay, so we are going to the eastern spot, which at the moment is where the blue engine red train. We have gone through 2 switches backwards. At least the back of the train has gone through 2. This is the engine house where in the mornings we get the trains ready. You saw some tools I put out in front just for the props. We have lots of oil. There's 90 some Zerk grease fittings in the morning. Put sand in the dome, which is usually the middle dome or the front dome for the blue engine. We need that sometimes for traction. We will, because we're on this side, we'll be going by 4 electric screw jacks, very close, that in the wintertime, we have these big beams that are on the other side of the house, you can see over on the west side. They go into that, and we actually pull the engine up into the air. I'm going to go with 4 feet or so. You can take the top of the stack off to get it closer to the ceiling, so that the guys will take all the running gear off. For those who came back, when we come back out in green, you see when we come out something about the size of a toaster on this side. That's the mechanical lubricator that references the real McCoy. So we've got the yellow, these are the red tops, or the jacks that will pick up the trains. In the winter time, we do one train, pretty massive tear down every winter. On the left side underneath the ladders are the 2 beams that go in there. Take wheels off, re-profile the tires. Yes, these are steel belted radials on the drive wheels.
Once again, just another little safety spiel. Make sure you're keeping your arms inside. Make sure you keep your butts on the seat because the train does jerk a little bit. Don't want you falling over onto other people. Thank you.
Okay, so everyone see the inside? So now you see it? Okay, that's our version of a Flight of Fear. Lights on, lights off tour. Okay. Good. Okay, once we're gonna build steam back up. You can turn the lights back on in case you want to take more photos. So in wintertime, the painters may come through. Both of these trains have been pretty repainted in the last 2 to 3 years. You'll notice at the end of the armrest, one of those is Simon, the other is Kevin. That was standard procedure. The sort of rectangle squares thing, the arm, those are interchangeable. So as the Crown sent it out to a park, they would change those out and make a new design. This design is called the Disney style. Bert Williams was the primary designer, builder. His wife was the stylist designer for the cars, as I understand. So we have what's referred to as the Disney style cars. Some of the Crowns have closed sides and a walkway down the middle. So if you see Old Hickory, sort of near New Orleans area, that's a different style. They have air compressors, lots of big tools. It does leak in the winter, so it's not the warmest place because the boiler's off. So we're coming along here. You can see Kyle, you can point to the mechanical lubricator there. And Eric, that's good. If you can move the reverser back and forth, let them see the motion in the reverser by moving it back and forth. We're getting a little pointation here as well. in the morning we got a long checklist of things to do. Maintenance has a checklist. I'm saying that we as an operations, the conductors have a long checklist they have to do in the test run every day. There you go, Eric. He was a civil engineer for the park, and as such, he was involved in signing off and designing the trestle, the layout of the train. So if you're keeping track of all the roller coasters you've been on, and track of now the heat's extra.
I can never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right.